Sometimes we might have non-English audios, or perhaps we want to translate them directly to English. For that, we can extend our transcriber's capabilities using a simple JavaScript object. By specifying the language key as French, we tell our transcriber the language of the audio. And with the task key, we indicate whether we are aiming to transcribe it or translate it. In our examples, first we translate the French audio, and then in the next one we translate that French audio directly to English. Let's now come to the implementation. In our web page, please go to the audio category, automatic speech recognition -French. It applies the same for all non-English languages, so we took French as an example. I will open this page. We have a URL for a French audio. We can also use a local file, and we can, instead of transcribing the French, transcribe and translate it directly in the third subtask. So let's go back to Visual Studio Code. And first at the top at the audio, you can see we have this French audio. So let me play it for you.
J'adore, j'aime, je n'aime pas, je déteste.
Okay, so the first step, as usual, will be to create the script tag. We create the script tag of type module because we want to be able to use the import statement. Then that's what we do next. We import the pipeline from the Transformers.js library. Of course, we showed you where to get it. Let me show it to you again. If you go to the Transformers.js page, go to installation. Below here, you can see this URL. Okay, let's get back to Visual Studio Code. Now, once I import the pipeline, I attach it to the window object. And that's because the variables defined inside a script tag of type module are local by default. So in order to make our pipeline global, I have to attach it into the window object. Okay, let's go down here to the initialize model method. Here, as usual, I will instantiate the transcriber by invoking the pipeline function. I pass automatic speech recognition as a task, and I specify the model that we are going to use. Then I handle the first button, which is transcribe non-English. So what I did is the usual. I got the text input and obtained its value, which is the URL. I stored it in a variable. Then I fired the transcriber. I passed it the URL, and I passed it a JavaScript object. This JavaScript object has two keys: the language, which is French, because the audio is French, and the task is to transcribe, which means that the audio will be transcribed from French to French text, from French audio to a French text. Then after some time that will return, I store the result, and then I convert the result to string and output it to the output area. Let's go and test this. So this is the URL of the audio file. Okay, as you can see, now it did translate it. It is a short audio, so it was just one line. Of course, we will see it in English later in this page. For now, we will need to do that from a local file instead of a URL. So I'll go back to Visual Studio Code, and we do the usual. First, we get the file input control. We get the first file, and we only have one file. Then we check if that file doesn't exist, we alert and return. Then we create a URL using the URL object .create object URL, and passing the file, we create a local URL that we can use. Then we call the transcriber, we pass the URL, and the same JavaScript object. The language is French and the task is transcribe, which means that it will transcribe it to French language, and then the output will be converted to a string and outputted to the output area. Okay, let's go and test that. So we have this file, which is the French audio transcribe. Okay, so again it has transcribed it to French. The last thing is to translate directly to English using a URL. So we go back to Visual Studio Code and we handle that button. We first get the input text or the text input and get the URL from it. Then we fire the transcriber. Of course, as usual, the transcriber takes time, and that's why we have the await. And the async on the function name is because we have await. So we pass the URL to the transcriber. We pass a JavaScript object with a key language French, and the task now it is translate. This means that the language is French. It will be transcribed to French and directly translated to English. That will return after some time and will be stored on the result. We will convert the result to a string and output it in the output area. Let's go and test that. So this is the translate. It's written transcribe, but it should be translate. Okay, so now it has returned. As you can see, it is transcribed and translated to English. I love, I like, I don't like, I hate. These are the French words that were spoken. Okay, so that's about automatic speak recognition. Thank you.